Carl Jung discovered something that will completely change how you see yourself. If you're someone who feels other people's pain like it's your own pain, if you walk into a room and suddenly feel heavy because someone there is sad, even if they're pretending to be okay, then listen. Jung found that people like you are rare. Only about 8 out of every 100 people feel this way. And here's the crazy part. Everyone told you this was a weakness, right? Teachers told you to toughen up. Friends told you to stop being so sensitive. Maybe even doctors told you something was wrong with you. But Jung discovered the truth. That sensitivity, it's not a flaw. It's actually a sign that you're more psychologically developed than most people. Most people can watch someone hurt and stay completely separate, like they're watching it on TV. But you can't do that. You feel it. When your friend is anxious, your body gets anxious. When someone near you is sad, your chest gets tight. You're not broken. You're evolved. And it's time you knew why. Here's what most people don't understand about how normal emotions work. Most people have walls, invisible emotional walls. When someone else has a problem, those walls stay up. They can listen, they can care, but they don't actually absorb the problem. It doesn't get inside them. It stays on the outside where it can't hurt them. That's normal. That's how most people survive emotionally. But you don't have those walls. Or maybe you do, but they don't work the way they're supposed to. When someone you care about is struggling, those walls just collapse, and suddenly their pain is your pain. Their stress becomes your stress. Their anxiety lives in your body. So here's the problem. You're carrying weight that was never supposed to be yours to carry. You go through life exhausted, drained, wondering why you feel so heavy all the time, wondering why being around people, even people you love, leaves you completely empty, and the world tells you that's broken. Doctors try to medicate it. Therapists try to fix it, like it's something wrong with your brain. But Jung discovered something different. He realized that your sensitivity isn't the problem. The problem is that nobody ever taught you how to use it as a strength instead of letting it destroy. Jung discovered something amazing about people who feel other people's pain so deeply. He noticed they all had something in common. People came to them. Always, friends would show up at their door at 2 a.m. with broken hearts. Co-workers would suddenly start crying around them. Strangers would tell them their deepest secrets within minutes of meeting. Why? Because people sense something different about you. They feel safe. They feel like you won't judge them. They feel like you'll actually understand instead of just pretending to listen. Jung called this the wounded healer. And it's not random. Because you can feel pain so deeply, you actually become the person who can help others heal from pain. You don't just say, "I'm sorry," like it's a script. You actually feel their hurt in your own body. And somehow that makes people feel less alone. Here's what's powerful. When someone is suffering and they look in your eyes, they see someone who gets it, really gets it. Not someone trying to fix them or rush them through their grief. Someone who will sit with them in the darkness without running away. That's a gift, a real one. But there's a shadow side Jung warned about. Sometimes you take on their pain to avoid your own. Sometimes you're so busy healing everyone else that you forget to heal yourself. And that's where you get into trouble. This is the hardest part about being an empath. And probably the most important. You don't know where you end and other people begin. Your best friend is going through a breakup and suddenly you feel heartbroken. But it's not your relationship that ended. It's theirs. Yet your chest hurts like it is yours. Your partner is stressed about work and suddenly you can't sleep. Your mom is worried about money and you start having panic attacks that aren't even about your own life. So here's what happens. You end up carrying everyone's emotional problems like they're your job to fix, and you get exhausted, burned out, overwhelmed. You start wondering if you're going crazy because you can't tell which feelings actually belong to you anymore. Jung taught something powerful here. He said the answer isn't to feel less, it's to feel smarter. He called it conscious compassion. And it means you can feel someone's pain without taking their pain into your own body as your responsibility. Think about it like this. You can sit next to someone who is cold without becoming cold yourself. You can understand their freezing without your own teeth chattering. That doesn't make you less caring. It makes you more helpful because you're not disabled by their suffering. That's what you need to learn. How to feel with people instead of feeling for them. How to help them carry their weight without it crushing you. That's when your gift becomes sustainable. That's when being an empath becomes your superpower instead of your prison. Here's something most people never think about. Why are you like this? Why can you feel other people's pain when most people can't? Why are you wired this way when it makes life so much harder? Jung believed it wasn't an accident. He thought people like you are here for a reason, a big reason. Most of humanity is still living in separation. People hurt each other without really feeling what they're doing. Parents yell at kids without understanding the damage. People scroll past suffering on the news and feel nothing. Countries go to war while most people stay comfortable and untouched. Why? Because most people have learned to disconnect, to protect themselves by pretending other people's pain doesn't touch them. But you can't do that. Your nervous system won't let you. When someone hurts, you hurt. When someone is lonely, you feel that loneliness. You can't pretend separation is real because your body knows better. And that's exactly what humanity needs to learn. Jung believed we're evolving slowly toward a world where people actually feel connected to each other, where hurting someone else feels as bad as hurting yourself, where you can't ignore someone's suffering because it would be like ignoring your own pain. People like you are already living that way. You're showing the world what's possible. You're living proof that connection is real, that we're not as separate as we think we are. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw in you. It's a preview of who humanity is becoming. Let's talk about what you've actually gained from being this way. Because it's not all burden. There are real gifts here. Profound ones. The first gift, radical authenticity. You can't fake it. You know how most people go through life performing, pretending to be okay when they're not, smiling at work even though they're dying inside. You can't do that. Your face shows what you're feeling. Your voice cracks when you're lying. Your body betrays every attempt at pretense. At first, you probably thought that was a curse, like you're too transparent, too vulnerable. But here's what Jung discovered, that authenticity is magnetic. People are exhausted by everyone else's performances. When they meet someone who is actually real, who doesn't pretend, who shows genuine emotion, they're drawn to you like your oxygen and they've been holding their breath. The second gift, genuine compassion, that heals. You don't just understand suffering in your head, you understand it in your bones, in your nervous system. When someone tells you their pain, you don't think about the right words to say. Your whole being responds, and people feel that. They feel that you actually care, not because you're supposed to, but because you literally cannot help but care. That kind of compassion transforms people. Someone can spend years in therapy, hearing the right advice from a therapist who keeps professional distance. But 5 minutes with you, someone who actually feels their pain can shift something fundamental because they finally feel truly seen. The third gift, emotional depth and wisdom. Most people live on the surface. Happy, sad, angry, fine. You live in the depths. You've learned to hold grief and gratitude at the same time. You can feel joy and sorrow in the same moment. You understand contradictions that most people never touch. That makes you wise. Real wisdom, not book knowledge. The kind that comes from actually living inside human experience at its deepest levels. You've learned what matters and what doesn't. You've learned the difference between real connection and fake connection. You've learned that strength isn't about not feeling. It's about feeling and continuing anyway. The fourth gift, spiritual maturity. Your sensitivity has forced you to ask big questions. Why do we hurt each other? What does it mean to really love someone? What is connection actually about? Most people never think about these things deeply, but you had to. Your nervous system demanded answers, and that's led you towards spiritual understanding that most people spend lifetimes trying to find in churches and meditation retreats. You already know it. You know that we're connected. You know that love is real. You know that separation is an illusion because you can feel other people's reality inside your own body. These aren't consolation prizes. These are genuine psychological and spiritual achievements that most people spend their whole lives working toward and never find. You found them because of your sensitivity, not in spite of it. You're not broken for feeling this much. You're evolved. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's a sign that you're operating at a higher level than most people. Jung discovered that the people who feel the deepest pain are often the ones meant to help heal the world, not by fixing everyone, but by showing that real connection exists. That's you. So here's my question for you. What did your sensitivity teach you about love and connection that most people never learn? Share that in the comments. Your answer might transform someone else's understanding of themselves. Someone who's been told they're too sensitive, too emotional, too affected. Your story could show them that their empathy is actually a superpower. If this has helped you see yourself differently, subscribe. There's so much more to explore about the psychology of deep feeling. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their sensitivity isn't weakness. They need to know what you now understand. That feeling this much doesn't make you broken. It makes you exactly what the world needs. Thank you for having the courage to feel so deeply in a world that tells you to feel less. Your empathy matters. You matter. And the world is better because you feel things the way you do.